Hi, I'm Nancy Ettinger and I own the Savor Soup House, which is where we are here. It's a cart in downtown Portland, a food cart, and we sell soup. We specialize in soup. And today we're going to be making potato leek soup. So what we have over here is some of our ingredients. And we've got a pot going on about medium to high heat. And we're going to start with about quarter cup of butter. Let that melt. And then we're going to add about one medium to large onion. We want to hear that sizzle. Give it a little stir. And I really like potato leek soup. It's just a really nice, simple soup. It's good for parties or just having a light dinner. And in the summertime, you can actually serve it cold, and they call it vichyssoise, and it's delicious. So we're going to add about a couple cloves of garlic, chopped up. And you don't have to really worry about your dice on this because it's all going to get pureed. So whatever you have lying around is fine, and just give it a quick chop if you're in a hurry. That's no problem. So we've got onions and garlic going in here. Turn the heat up a little bit. And then we're going to add our leeks. So this is about 2 leeks. Leeks are in the onion family, and they look like giant shallots. And they're really dirty. So you want to slice them up. We're using the white parts of the leeks, and the green part just gets it's just not as edible. So some of the white parts are only about 1 inch, but we're looking for about 2 inches, so we used about 2 leeks. So you'll want to chop them up and soak them in some water to get that dirt to go to the bottom, and then you kind of pull it out and toss it in. And it's really good. It's a nice mellow onion flavor, and it just goes really nicely with the potatoes. So we're going to turn up the heat a little bit, let that do its thing for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to add our potatoes. And we're back here. We have let the butter melt and the leeks and garlic and onions kind of do their thing together. It's been about 10 minutes or so. Everything's pretty soft and translucent and fragrant at this point. So just give it a little stir here. We're going to add our potatoes. Just your basic russet potato works, peeled and chopped. And again, don't worry about uniform dice or anything like that. It's all going to get pureed. If you wanted to do this ahead of time, you could always get your cut your potatoes up and just put them in water, because potatoes oxidize. So just keep them in water, and they'll do really well. So after we add our potatoes, we're going to add some veggie stock, equal parts veggie stock and water. This stock is hot. You can serve it hot or cold. It's really your preference. Just enough. You could do about 3 to 4 cups of stock. You could do chicken stock or vegetable stock. Just enough to equal parts stock to water. And we really just want enough to cover the potatoes, because the potatoes will thicken it. And you can add a little more water later, but you don't want to add too much water to begin with, because we don't want it to be too thin. So we're going to let it cook for about 15-20 minutes and let the potatoes get really tender. You can just cover it, bring it up to a boil, and yeah, they can be totally overdone here because we want them to blend really smoothly. After the potatoes have been going for about 15-20 minutes, we want them really soft. So this is what it's going to look like. Really tender potatoes. I mean, just like a butter knife will touch them and they'll fall apart. And that's where all the flavors come in. And so we're going to stick a blender in there and get it nice and smooth. So we've just pureed the potatoes, and you can use a regular blender. I used a large immersion blender. The thing you have to remember with using a regular blender is there's a little piece that comes with the top of the blender. I take that piece out and cover it with maybe a moist towel. It doesn't even really have to be moist, but just cover it with a towel because the steam will make it explode. So you definitely want to be careful of that. Or you could always use an immersion blender where you just stick it in the pot and let it do its thing. But if you're going to use a regular blender, which works fantastic, you just want to be careful about that steam. So it's looking super smooth right now, and if you want to get it even more smooth, you can strain it, but we're not going to worry about that. It's going to turn out nice and velvety at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little heavy cream, or just whatever whipping cream you have on hand. We've got about a cup here. Put that in there for a little flavor. You don't really need too much. We just want to taste a little bit of a little creaminess to it. And what I also like to add is some buttermilk, which isn't really traditional, but I think it adds a nice zing to it. So we got about quarter to half a cup of that. Just adds a nice little tang to it. So we're going to give it a little stir. And this is definitely the consistency we're looking for. Nice, smooth, kind of creamy looking soup. And just start off by adding about a tablespoon of salt, maybe about a teaspoon of pepper. Give it another little stir and give it a taste, and season, add a little more salt and pepper or buttermilk or cream according to your liking. So there we have potato leek soup.